As a young child, I could see the future. Not literally what would happen, but I could envision my dreams coming true. Any goal I worked for, I achieved. Every challenge I faced, I ultimately overcame. But one day, after coming home from school, the vision in my right eye was cloudy. As my right eye grew worse, I lost sight, both literally and figuratively. My right eye was blurry, and it hurt whenever I squinted or stared or tried to focus my eye. I thought it was just a small thing at first, so I hid it from my parents for a while. I tried using eye drops to help clear things up, but my vision got worse and worse. I knew I had to tell someone, but I didn't want to admit that I couldn't see. All the goals I saw in my future became just as blurry as my vision. What if it's permanent? I thought to myself, and then suddenly, it went completely black. When I finally told my mom, she started asking questions faster than I could answer. Why did this happen? And how did this happen? And of course, why didn't you say something before? Honestly, I started to think, this is just how I am. I knew from a young age that I developed faster and differently than most children, and I figured this was one of those instances. We went to doctor after doctor, and no one could tell me exactly what was wrong with my eye. The doctors poked, prodded, and tested. They said the tests came back negative for any infection. You have astigmatism, one doctor said, and he recommended an ophthalmologist. I think it's multiple sclerosis, another doctor said, and she recommended a neurologist. One doctor even thought I was faking it. I sat there in his office, barely able to see at all, and all he said was, "There's nothing wrong with your eye from what I can see." Different doctors, same outcome. They all sent me home with more heartache and confusion than when I went in. So I went about my life. I went back to working hard and setting goals and living the normal, independent life I always had. I wouldn't let my sight affect my vision of my future. I went to work, I exercised, I went out with friends, all that stuff. One day when I was 22, I was working at my office and I noticed the vision in my left eye was a little off, just a little blurrier than normal. The sensations felt all too familiar, and I went to a doctor right away to try and derail what I knew was coming. In the span of 1 week, I lost sight in my right eye completely. The doctors put me through a bunch of different tests. A neurologist examined me for muscle movement and brain function. I had an MRI and all sorts of other medical tests. The doctors diagnosed me with Neuromyelitis Optica, or NMO. Basically, my immune system was releasing antibodies against my own optic nerve, the cord from my eye to my brain. I thought after getting a diagnosis, I would set my sights on a cure, but NMO has no cure. And then it got worse. Not only was my vision so bad that I couldn't make it from my bed to my bathroom without a guide, I knew there was something else going on with my body. I felt weak, even though I exercised a lot in the past. My arm or leg would spasm and really hurt. Then sometimes it was the opposite and parts of me went numb. Because NMO was damaging my nervous system, it was having trouble sending signals from my brain to different parts of my body. Looking back now, I can see myself lying in bed, crying, repeating, "I don't want to go blind. I won't go blind. I won't go blind." I was broken. I was distressed. I was lost. Within a month of the diagnosis of neuromyelitis optica, I found out I was pregnant. It was the best, worst news and the worst, best news. I was so excited to be having a baby, but I was also so worried about how I would raise a child if I was blind. I wanted to wallow in my struggles. I wanted to give up. But knowing I now had another life depending on me, I knew I couldn't give up. I tried to get through my pregnancy the best I could. The next January, I gave birth to the biggest blessing of my life. But this bliss didn't last. After the birth, I felt really weak, like I couldn't move. It got so bad that I would wake up feeling completely numb from head to toe. It hurt just to lift my right arm, and all I would be able to do was lay there, waiting for feeling to come back into my arm. At first, I chalked it up to postpartum issues, so I thought it might be normal. I was still enthralled in the bliss of motherhood, until one day I could barely pick up my son to feed him. I went to a different ER and was sent home with a sedative and no answers. I was aching badly and I knew that wasn't normal. The symptoms I was having seemed off. I went back to the doctors that originally diagnosed me, and they explained that all those issues resulted from the NMO. I had to undergo a week of high-dose steroids, scans, and plasma treatments. After this week of treatment, I was sent home and stayed home for about 4 days. After those 4 days, my body started to shut down even more, and my immune system started battling against whatever it could. I spent the next 10 months in and out of the hospital. I had to undergo plasma treatments, transfusions, and more high doses of steroids. While on my oral treatments, my body developed a mini version of multiple sclerosis. MS goes after everything NMO doesn't. And once more, I had doctors baffled. They couldn't tell me anything. Not how this happened, not why, nothing. We'll try several different types of treatments, the doctor said. We'll keep trying until we find one that works. On my son's first birthday, I made a promise to him that I'd do whatever it takes to regain control of my health, and that I'd figure out how to live with my illnesses and still be an active role model in his life. From that day on, I started making changes to my routine. I ate more healthy, I continued to exercise, I cut myself off the medicine I could live without, and I reduced my daily steroid dose and immunosuppressants. These changes made a difference. I've gone through invasive and extensive treatments. I saw my life end more than once. I go through chemo every 3 months, and I am a full-time stay-at-home mom. I work out every day and am actively engaged in my son's life. This may not be the life I envisioned for myself, but I'm happy I still have a vision for my life, and I can see a bright future ahead.